So, of course, you want to be grounded when you're taking anything apart in the HE, and you should have a place to set the 3 that you're going to have to take out with anti-static foam. Could be pink foam, it could be the black foam. And they just come out like that. This one next to the support bracket is a little tricky to get out. You have to bring it up. Let me do this 3 times here because it's tricky for me too. You have to bring it up, and then when this connector clears the pots here, it'll come right out. Same thing to get it back in. So you take those 3 out with power off, obviously, and then turn power on, and you can hear the fans. Way too noisy. And I have my program running. Pretty much any one of them will work. We should try to get you this version that'll give exactly the same display that I'm going to show you. And you want to, this is going to be tricky to see. In fact, let me show you on one of these post amplifiers in the raw, as it were. So they go in like that, and then so you're looking at them like this, and there are 2 points that we're going to have to probe. One of which is right there. It's not the way I normally look at it. I want to make sure I'm not leading you down the garden path. Yes, one of them is right there, and the other one is right there. And those are the 2 integrating capacitors for one channel there and for the other channel there. So you're actually looking at the output of the integrating amplifier, which is connected, of course, to the integrating capacitor. So we're going to connect the scope probe to ground, and there's one fairly convenient place to connect it to ground, which is, again, let's show it on this, it'll be a little easier. You connect the ground right there. Those are the load resistors. When the detector is connected, you never, ever, ever want to mess with those, because you can have a bad day and destroy the detector. So we put the ground on there, and then I'm going to put the probe in that first hole that I showed you and make an adjustment, and then I'm going to put the probe in the second hole and make an adjustment there. So let's do that on the one that's hot. Sit, boo-boo. And that's the display you'll get if you have the scope set for 200 millivolts on the channel you're using. I actually have the bandwidth set down to 20 megahertz just to make things a little cleaner. And I've set the trigger to be on this section here, this burst section here, and you see these sawtooths. And what we're going to do is we're going to adjust a pot to make those sawtooths go away. That is, what's happening there is a net signal even when you have no input to the integrator, and it's integrating that signal during those time periods. And I've set it up so those time periods are long enough that you get a nice, easy to see signal. And then we're going to null that out and make it go away. So if I can just step in front of the camera for a moment. Lots of good jokes in Spanish about that. The pot that you need to adjust to fix that channel, which if you actually look over the chart here, I think all of them have a chart in the thing, you would know that that is, we're going to be working on channel 3 first. And then we'll go back to this pot, which is pot 2, called RV2 on the schematic. And if I go too far with the pot, I get negative ramps. If I go back the other way, I get positive ramps. And where we want to leave it is right there with no ramp at all. And then I can move the probe over to the second channel on that board. My probe's not sitting by itself, so I'll hold it in with my hand. Go to the next pot up, which is pot RV3, and that one was already adjusted quite well. It was very close. I'll mess it up and then put it back. That's where we want it. And we're done with that board. Unclip the scope probe, power off, It's a bummer that you have to do so many power cycles. Plug in the board, and again, this second position is the difficult one to get in. You start high till you get it in. Then make sure you have the 20 pins here lined up with the connector. Seat that, and then press a little at the top to be sure you've seated the 52 pin Samtech connector. Scope probe grounded again. Power on. Looking at the first channel. It's also pretty well adjusted. Maybe I did this board. I didn't think I'd done these. There's negative, there's positive. That's what we want. We go on the other channel. And it is definitely not good. And you can see that it is positive ramps there, and I previously determined that in fact the sense of this pot is correct, in that if you want to make it more negative, you turn it clockwise. I'm turning the pot clockwise. Let's hope we don't have a bad board in here. Wouldn't you know? There we are. So like I said, you turn the pot counterclockwise because you want it to be more negative, not like I was doing, saying, so here as I turn the pot clockwise, it makes the spikes go up. If I turn it counterclockwise, it makes the spikes go down. They were way high, so I should have been turning it counterclockwise. And this one is just fine. Get it there in the middle. There we are. Okay. So that's 2 of the 4. Power off. Make sure you get the 20 pin connectors aligned. Press it in a little bit at the top. Connect your ground with a scope probe. Power on. Find your magic spot. And on this one we've got a little bit of negative there. And so it's the bottom pot of that group of 4. Turning it just a little bit clockwise, we were fine. Go over to the other one, which is worse. So we go to the second pot up here. And we want to move it down, so we're going to turn it counterclockwise. No, we're going to turn it clockwise, we're going to turn it counterclockwise, like I said.
Leave a shot of the ground pin with your probe away from there. Let's get it close up so you can see where it's grounded. Okay, good.
Power off. Install the last one. Lining up the 20 pin connector, making sure the Samtech 52 pin is seated. Power on. Ground probe. First channel is the bottom pot. Over to the other test point. Okay, so that's step 1 of 3. Let's turn the power off and put our clamp back on. And the way you do that is with the screw, put the screw through the block, which has nylon insulation on the back. Put the screw into the hole, and with your 1/16 inch Allen wrench, screw the screw in until the block touches. And then you kind of got to fiddle a little to get get all 4 boards in the slots. And making sure that all 4 boards are in the slot. After it's bottom, give it kind of a half turn. That's about all. You don't want to go too far because you actually are flexing the printed circuit board to hold them in. So that's that. Okay, now the second step is